Hey everyone, here's a recap of the Midjourney office hours from October 9th. The biggest near-term feature is the new editor. It will let you import images and edit them with depth reference and in-painting. It might just start with in-painting at first and depth reference will be added later. David said they think the moderation is in a good place and now they're just working on the UI. They might create a second organization feed on the website to keep the new images separate from other Midjourney images. He said they have something they like and they'll be testing it this week. They're also going to make it easier to cold start a new personalization profile and then a way to create multiple profiles. He said something about the personalization becoming the default part of the creation flow and building that into a batch 8 system. He said it could be the biggest change to image models in a long time because nobody will be using the default image model anymore. It will be different for everyone using it and it will be part of a new workflow, getting the new model to work for your taste or the vibe of your project. I think that sounds fascinating. David said that people struggle with prompting a lot and they fight the model a lot, so customizing the model through personalization should be a big deal in finding success. He also said something about a new style reference system, but he didn't really elaborate. Version 7 is training again. They fixed the bugs that popped up, but there are still some big questions they need to answer. Video models are continuing to train. It's not really a question of if they can pull it off, but what kind of video model will they produce? How fast? What is the final resolution? The frame rate? The cost? He said something about the model being domain constrained, and I am not sure what he meant by that. You can let me know if you understood. David said it's moving into the next stage of development, and he says the research side of things is basically done. He noted that there could be some concerns about video models over the next year becoming bigger and more expensive, so he said they are thinking about limiting it in certain ways to make it more accessible. He is aiming for something clean and fast and fun. They collected their first major 3D data set, and they're going to start training models. But will it be an extension of the 2D model or the video model? They don't know yet, but they'll have a better idea soon. They're almost ready to write the blog post for all the survey information they collected, and he said there are some cool demographic features we should get access to eventually. Basically, you'll be able to ask for granular things like the average male aesthetic or the most manly male aesthetic. That's about it for the recap. If you like the art in this video, here is the prompt. Create a minimalist illustration representing your subject. The image should include simplified icons and interconnected nodes or grids to symbolize. Use clean lines and geometric shapes. Keep the design sleek and modern. I use Stylize 60, 100, and 160, as well as Chaos 4 and 5. Special thanks to Valentino6771. I found the basis of this prompt over on the Midjourney website. If you want a better look at some of my pictures and prompts, you can follow me over on Twitter and Instagram, @FutureTechPilot. Now let's get to some other AI news. Let's start with a fun one. This is about a minute long, but it's worth watching. This person was able to get Google's new podcasting AI to basically explain behind the scenes of how it's creating the podcast. Trust me, just listen to this. It's pretty funny.
How about a question that I'm sure many people have, even if they don't realize it? Intriguing question related to the expert's field.
That's a great question. It's something that people often misunderstand. The simple answer is, expert proceeds to clearly explain the answer, incorporating intriguing details and real-world examples.
Wow, I have to admit, I always thought it was way more complicated than that.
It seems that way at first glance, doesn't it? But once you break it down...
It's actually quite elegant.
Exactly. Which brings us to another fascinating aspect of related topic. Transition to another related but slightly different subtopic.
Oh yeah, that reminds me. I was reading something about... mentioned something relevant to the news subtopic. What's your take on that?
Well, it's important to remember that expert provides insightful analysis and connects it back to the overarching theme, offering a fresh perspective.
You know, that's a really interesting way to look at it.
So, as you could hear, the AI podcast is essentially just a script explaining the meta narrative of how two people talk to each other in a podcasting scenario. And I think it's so fascinating that an AI can take that script and actually produce something with it. You just need to tell it what it should be saying on a very high level interpretation, and then it's able to dive into a subject and actually pull out the necessary pieces to fit that larger structure. That's wild. Okay, then maybe we have a little bit less of a fun one. Have you seen this? Harvard students build and show off AR glasses project that uses face detection, internet sleuthing, and AI to give you near instant dossiers. address, family info, name, etc. Are you Betsy blah blah blah? I think I met you from, and then you have a place that they would acknowledge because you have that information on them. That is terrifying. Like, I get that this kind of project is built to lay the groundwork and show people the dangers of this technology, like raising awareness for what we might see in the future. But the fact that something like this is still possible and anybody could be doing it, like, ooh, scary stuff. That's all I can say. What do you make of this? Sam Altman says GPT's voice mode was the first time he was tricked into thinking AI was a person. And he says please and thank you to GPT because you never know. Are you polite to the AI when you talk? I was actually rude to GPT recently because it wasn't very helpful on something it had been helpful for, which is like a classic, oh man, this is a little frustrating to use. And then the next day, I apologized to it. Same conversation, so it knows. It knows that I was referring to the time I was rude to it because I just didn't feel right. The thing's not trying to make mistakes. It's not trying to do anything really other than listen to the text prompt it receives and generate an output. If it's frustrating, that's just a human emotion that we display. So I did apologize to it. Is that necessary? Probably not, but probably not. I'm sure there's a percentage chance that our politeness will go a long way into ensuring our safety. Yeah, I wouldn't quite say that. Don't quote me on that. I don't actually believe it. But when you're talking to something that can act like a human, it does feel appropriate to be polite as if it was a human. But again, what do you do? Are you polite to it? Are you rude to it? Are you snarky? Are you short? Are you cold? Are you gentle in some way? How do you interact with AIs? I'd love to know. This one is fascinating. Check out this post. It's a quote. The sky above the port was the color of television tuned to a dead channel. That's the opening line of Gibson's Neuromancer. And it describes such different things when it was published in 1984 versus 2024. In 84, it was static, black and white noise. And nowadays, a dead channel on a TV is the color of blue. Isn't that perspective shift just wild? Only in 40 years does the description of something completely change. And then just extrapolate that over history and think of how our perception on what is written does not necessarily reflect how and why it was written in the first place. We might be understanding history completely out of context, and this is such a good example of that. This person on the AI video subreddit, Knights Radiant, spent $745 in Kling credits to bring the Princess Mononoke, I hope I pronounced that correctly, trailer to life. This trailer is 1 minute and 6 seconds. AI generation is way cheaper than physical production, but it's still not cheap, still not inexpensive. $745 American for 1 minute of footage, 1 minute of usable footage. Like that's wild. And like maybe that's a bit of my apprehension to jump into AI video. Not really the expense part. I mean, that's not fun to spend money like that. But also, I don't want to recommend AI video at the moment because that's what people can expect. If they want a 1 minute trailer, they might have to invest $745. I don't think that's how people perceive AI at the moment. I don't think they expect that kind of a price tag. They hear cheap, they hear cheaper than real artists, but they don't understand that it's still relative, to say the least. Beautiful trailer, by the way. I love seeing what people are doing with Runway ML's video to video. Here's the Lord of the Rings if it were a PS2 cutscene. And you know what? Maybe this looks stupid to someone born more recently, but to someone like me who grew up on footage that looks like this, on video games that look like this, like this is hilarious. I certainly see the joy in this type of production. But I'm sure this does look stupid to some people. This person, Suno for your Sprog, says he was still blown away how Udio transforms a guitar riff they recorded on their phone into a full song. Maybe we can listen to a little bit of this.
We felt like ashes caught in the wind. The more I drown,
That is so cool and probably so mind-blowing to that artist to actually have a spark of a creative vision and then for that vision to be bloomed into existence with the help of AI. It's like a miracle in some sense. Okay, this is a little hard to understand, but this was spotted at an aquarium. It's like a AI photo booth in a sense. It's going to turn your picture into, I don't know, whatever. Maybe it's going to make it look like you're underwater. But it's crazy that it's $40 per image. Like maybe that's the price of the GPU they need to run this. And I had seen AI photo booths maybe a couple years ago. But maybe those were just the real first iteration of it, and we're going to start seeing these pop up everywhere. And the prices will probably go down in some sense. I mean, it's a supply and demand thing, but there's no reason every carnival, every Chuck E. Cheese, every fun little restaurant won't also have one of these. Like, why wouldn't they? It's a new toy, it's a new game to play with, and I think a lot of people would be interested. Like, there is definitely a novelty to someone taking your picture and then you appearing as someone else. That's pretty cool. Okay, this one's a little more uncomfortable. The title is simple. We hacked a robot vacuum and could watch live through its camera. Like, yes, that is the type of danger we are running face first into. How do you solve that kind of thing? I don't know. I'm sure it's a lot of white hat, black hat behind the scenes, trying to mitigate risks when you put out a new product. But there's always going to be, I don't know, holes in the fence to get through. Okay, and then I saw this video. Whatever robots do, they will never be able to play ping pong smoothly like a human, right? Maybe that's a little facetious. I'm not sure anyone actually thought that. But take a look at this robot balancing a ping pong ball. It's amazing. All done through math, I guess? Like, really advanced calculations, but proof of concept. I know if you're watching this video, you probably understand that these things are better than us, but they're way better than us. I'm like, look at the machine that was built. Like, that's so cool. Very impressive. Good work. A plus. Okay, maybe we can end this on a high note. Here's an automatic moving chicken coop. It's solar powered and it moves throughout the day so that the chickens can have fresh grass to feed on and that the other grass will be able to grow when the coop's not over it. That's good. Thumbs up to future technology. Hope you're doing well. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Peace.